Hey everyone, Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler, with another What Sold on eBay this week. Once again, I'm Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. If you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely go down there and click the subscribe button. Every week, we do a couple of videos where we go over all the things that we sold. Well, not all of them, but a good part of what we sold on eBay. There's tons of BOLO, there's tons of history, there's tons of knowledge to be gained with these videos. So if you enjoy these videos, definitely click the like button. And if you're new to the channel, I would highly suggest clicking the subscribe button, most definitely, for sure. We want to welcome all the new subscribers over the weekend. We had a lot of new subscribers this weekend, and so I want to thank everyone for all that support and everything. It really means a lot to me, all the subscribers. We're getting close to that 10,000 mark, so I really appreciate that. So like I said, once again, I'm Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler here. We're going to go over what sold on eBay this week. Once again, also, I am the eBay Hub Manager for the American Cancer Society. So 100% of these profits go to cancer research and housing and a lot of other great stuff that is happening here. And we definitely have the link below if you want to support us by going down there, seeing if you want to any of the items down there. Make us an offer if you're in Los Angeles. Also, definitely come stop by our Discovery Shop in Burbank. The address is below. So let's get right into it. First up, we have Lalique France Crystal Angel. Now, one of my goals last year was to learn a lot more about glass and jewelry and clothing. Those are the kind of things that I haven't had really much experience with over the many years that I've been doing this. And so one of the things that every time we'd get some pieces of glass in that that were high end, I would research them, research the companies, go in through their history, look at their wikis, and really dive really deep down into some of these brands. So if you've never heard of Lalique, it's one of those brands that is super awesome, and I highly suggest everyone who is into reselling to definitely look at for this brand. And for the most part, Lalique stuff is gonna, I don't even know if I have even a close up. You know, a lot of their stuff is gonna be branded, etched underneath Lalique. There's a lot of glass that you're not gonna find, like Waterford, which we have some Waterford stuff. You know, in a couple items later that we'll talk about. For the most part, Lalique is definitely something that you're gonna find a mark on. And just remember that name, store that name in the back of your head, because some of those pieces, especially some of the very early stuff, goes for a ton of money. This one single glass alone, this sold for $104 plus $13.99 shipping. I think originally these came in a set of 6, if I do believe, and unfortunately we did have two other ones that had chips in them. And that's another thing also to look out for, is chips along the tops and the bottoms, and just to really like look at glass very well before you list it, because sometimes you get a flea bite, which is a term it's like a very little chip. Usually flea bite, when you hear the term flea bite, it's like for ceramics and stuff like that, but also it pertains to glass if you find these little tiny kind of chips in there. But the one thing that I learned also is this picture is not really that great. White on white on white. Oh, you do see the white gloves there. That's the funny part too, is wearing the white gloves during the glass photography, so I don't get any glass or anything on that for sure. But anyways, next time I'll be taking photos with a black background, like as you see here. The photos are a little bit more professional, especially when you're dealing with, you know, white porcelain or anything white. You really want to have a dark background. I've been photographing a lot of the jewelry with dark backgrounds, so there's that. But Lalique is definitely one of those items that you need to look out for, especially the name for sure. And like I said, one glass flute sold for $104.99, so this is a great sale. Next up, we have this 1978 posters by painters from Leo Ferlin, New York book, Andy Warhol. We got Klimt and Chagall. This is a great book. It had a bunch of tons of like kind of posters that you can probably even cut out and frame them up It was an older book. I think this is, I said 1978. Roy Lichtenstein, all these classics. I mean, there was Andy Warhol in here, and I highly suggest if you do take some of these, if you do find some higher end art books, to take a photograph of the inside when you can. Also, the inside pages will also have copyright dates for the most part. Even old books from the 20s and the 30s will have this. I highly suggest taking this photograph because it's going to have usually the ISBN number if it's somewhere in the 70s. And it'll have a copyright date. Like I said, even some of the books from the teens and the 20s will have copyright dates in the very first few pages. This is another great way to look them up. If you're having trouble looking at books, you can use the Amazon Seller app to just scan the front of the book, and that'll help you determine, what's going on with that. And I need to pop out my chat. I'm glad everyone's alive today in the chat. It makes me so happy to see all the people chatting in the chat room. That's I think you guys are you guys alive? Are you guys alive out there? Jeez, just say hi, say hello, somebody. But anyways, definitely use the Amazon Seller app, which has a nice little photograph feature where you can actually look up books by just scanning the covers of them. So I highly suggest looking into that. Next up is this 2019 Dave Putty 90s bobblehead Devil's Jersey. We talked about this in the bobblehead video that I did a few days ago. And by the way, if you're watching this on the back end, I'm going to put the bobblehead video right there. You can check that out. I talked about bobbleheads, a basic rundown on bobbleheads, what to look for, how to source them. This sold on a 30% off sale for $69.99. These bobbleheads are, they have tons of giveaways every year for every sport, and not all the bobbleheads are going to be worth a ton of money. There we go. We got people in the chat. We got Super Sunshine Thrifter, Grace Johnson, Days of Adventure, and Tammy Gardner. Thank you for saying hello. I thought I was here all by myself for a second. I was like looking at the chat and I was like, there's no one chatting. If you have any questions during this chat, definitely put them in the comments or put them in the chat room and I will get to them as soon as I can. Next up, we have this June 5th, 1942 newspaper, Battle of Midway. There's some pretty good money in old newspapers. Just be warned that there was some reproductions out there of classic World War II ones. And I can't tell you exactly what to look for to tell if it's a reproduction, that though I have noticed that some of the edging and stuff is how you can tell. For the most part, an old newspaper is going to look like an old newspaper. Some of the ones that are reproductions, if they look like amazingly bright and brilliant and white, or it's like an off gray, I should say. All newspaper, there's no newspapers that are white. They're like an off gray. But if you find one that's like absolutely pristine like that, it's usually going to be a reproduction. These older ones that are like 50, 60, 70 years old are going to have a hint of yellowing to them. And as you can see, this one, if we do a close-up on this one, you'll see that there's some major yellowing in these. And usually the more obscure they are, like this one's called the Call Bulletin from San Francisco, the more likely that they're going to be legit. Stuff like New York Times, LA Times, on like specific days like Pearl Harbor bombing, D-Day, and stuff like that, they reproduce a lot of those. The death of Kennedy, they reproduce those down the, like 30 or 40 years down the road. So, and usually those are Los Angeles Times. So those are the kind of things to look out for when you're looking at old newspapers. Some old newspapers can go for literally hundreds of dollars. Like if this particular day was an LA Times or a New York Times, it could have possibly went for around $100, $150 or more. So just definitely look out for that kind of stuff. We got Toy Attic in the house. How you doing? Hope all is well. I was just looking at your greeting card today, and it totally reminded me how awesome you are. So thank you for tuning in. Next up, we have this 1993 Hanna-Barbera employee store mug of Captain Planet. This thing's absolutely mint condition. I thought it was actually brand new. I mean, I could have listed this as brand new, except for this bottom part. As you can see, there was like some shelf wear. Kind of obscure mugs. Normally, we just put these in the shop for like $2 or $3, call it a day. But we did get in a collection of Hanna-Barbera employee mugs, and these are actually pretty rare. Um, and so I decided to list these. We sold a couple of different ones for around $20. So to be honest, like mugs, 99% of the mugs you're gonna find at Goodwill and stuff aren't really worth that much. There are some pretty crazy mugs that are like handmade by specific artists that I have come across over the 30 years that I've been going to garage sales and yard sales and stuff like that. So just be warned that there is some pretty crazy mugs out there that go for a crazy amount of money, but for the most part, the mugs that you're gonna find at Goodwill and stuff like that aren't going to be worth that much. You know, railroad, aviation stuff does very well as far as sell through rate. And of course, everyone knows about Starbucks mugs. You know, the city ones, but you should have to look those up. Some of them don't go for a lot of money, but if you can get a Starbucks mug for less than $1 or $1, that is a city mug. That's definitely a buy, even though if it's a common one that people aren't looking for. The same thing goes for mugs as far as looking for chips and anything like that. Usually when people buy mugs, they want a perfect mug, and those are few and far between when you go to Goodwill looking for mugs and stuff like that. Toyatic saying, I found a Tiffany's mug at Goodwill that sold for $40 even though it was cracked. See, there you go. Specific stuff, even though if it's cracked, will do well. Like, you know, a Tiffany's. I am assuming it's Tiffany and Company. Though I don't know if they did. I don't even know that they did ceramics. But that's very, very cool. As you can see, there's lots of money out there in glass and ceramic ware stuff. Next up, we have this Get Smart DVD set, 25. This thing was like super heavy. This thing was like a brick. This sold on a sale this weekend for $34.99 plus $5 media mail. Some of you might not know that you can ship DVDs media mail, which will save you and your customer money. Media mail will take a little bit longer to get to your customer, so just be warned about that if you have a customer that, you know, some picky customers that want their stuff fast. Usually, you know, it'll say it in the auction, you know, $5 economy shipping. It'll say media mail in the description. So I highly suggest shipping any VHSs, any DVD sets, any DVD lots. Video games you cannot ship via media mail. Comic books you can't ship via media mail. Books you can ship, you know, as long as they don't have advertising in them. But I wouldn't get too super crazy with looking through a whole book looking for an ad or something like that, you know. And I highly suggest utilizing media mail in your business if you can. Like I said, it saves you money, it saves your customer money, and it's just smart business practice to use. But definitely look out for DVD sets. How you look them up is there's usually a barcode on them, and you can just take your eBay app and scan those barcodes and see what has sold. Pretty easy. Most people are gated in Amazon, so if you're ungated in Amazon, you should be selling DVDs on Amazon. Just point blank. Some people were grandfathered into that, so you know, if you had an account like from 8 years ago, go and check your accounts. Though I think like if you don't put a DVD in there for a certain amount of time, it'll actually go away and you won't be able to sell any DVDs. I wish I can sell DVDs. I have like literally thousands of them in my storage unit, like mint condition ones and sealed ones. But I'm waiting for the day that, you know, something happens with Amazon and I can get back in there because, you know, there's a lot of DVDs that, you know, that you can find everywhere that sell for pretty good money on Amazon. Next up, we have this Tiara nursery plate bowls. These actually were pretty much see-through glass. They're all the same style. They just happen to be in different colors. This is a Seesaw Marjorie Daw. Now, I'm not completely sure what the brand is for this. This was like a listing that I did like really literally months ago when I first started. As you can see, it's got the poster in the background before I got the roll and all the studio stuff set up. But some of these plates are harder to find than others. But like I said, it's just one of those things that you got to look up. And there wasn't like huge money in this particular brand, but I thought I would show you guys to just to be lookout for other things. This sold for $28 with $19.99 shipping. We shipped this via UPS Ground, I think. So definitely check that out. Next up, we have this Waterford crystal. We were talking about Waterford before. Waterford is also known for these kind of like cake servers, wedding things. As we can see here, this was a lot of two. Was kind of like a cake cutter and a server all wrapped up in the one. We tried to get $100 for this set as it was used. It wasn't brand new. But Waterford crystal is one of those other kind of crystals you should look out for. Now, for the most part, Waterford's not going to be marked usually. There are some etching marks on certain Waterford, like higher end ones. But for the most part, they're not going to be marked. You have to know what they look like. And now that's very hard for me to explain on a video. But they do. Oh, Grace Johnson, you're saying you're not seeing what the item sold for. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's just the way this is. It's small. I can't zoom in. I guess I can zoom in. But see, the prices are all different anyways, because even if you sold something, it says like this sold for $69.99. I think we took a best offer for 30 something on these, so it's not even going to show that. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Next up, we have this Manny Ramirez Los Angeles Dodgers bobbleheads. Like we said, we talked about bobbleheads before. And I left a link to that bobblehead video before. And just as a friendly reminder, I'll put the bobblehead video link in the thing below. We got actually a pretty good collection of bobbleheads in like a couple months ago. Some of them were signed too. So always look inside bobbleheads to make sure that they're not only not broken, but they can potentially be signed on, you know, the back of the heads, the back of the jerseys, sometimes the legs, sometimes the bases. So definitely look at that for sure. Next up, we have this Lindsay 14-inch Prince felt doll with tags made in Italy. Dolls are still sell fairly well, not as much as they did like 10 years ago, but there's also different ones from different companies. And this is a new company that I never heard of, Lindsay. And it's one of those things where, you know, I'm just showing you guys here to be on the lookout for that particular brand. It's not a super high end, though. You know, some of the retail on these ones are actually pretty high. The resale value on these is not particularly that great. As a matter of fact, I think we took a best offer for 25. We had a pair of these with a boy and a girl. We took a best offer for 25 each on these. Next up, we have this new without tags Helen Kaminsky hat, this sun hat made in Madagascar. This sold for $120 plus shipping. Look out for this brand, Helen Kaminsky. It is a pretty high-end brand for a hat that looks like this. And so this is definitely a BOLO brand to look out for sure. So once again, I'm Chris, the Thrift Shop Hustler. We actually didn't have a tremendous amount of sales this weekend, which made this video short. If you enjoyed this video, definitely click the like button. Subscribe if you're not subscribing. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And we really appreciate everyone's support. And we will see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.